If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another cutting tutorial. Today I'm so happy to be cutting along with you the Ceyhla bag by sewing ArtZ Handmade. I have been wanting to make this bag since it came out, so I'm so happy I finally found the time to do this tutorial and I can check this one off my list. What we do in our cutting videos is we cut the exterior fabrics and the lining fabrics together. We do not go through and cut the interfacings together, mainly because from country to country our interfacings all differ so much. But I will share with you the interfacings that I will be using as we go through. The interfacings she calls for in this are fusible fleece, I believe, and another one that I'm pretty sure is equivalent to, say, a medium woven interfacing. I am not sure. What I will be using, because my vinyls, my exterior vinyls, are like a soft, like suede, and I will get to those here momentarily, show you what they are. She says here, as I'm just looking down, she says reinforce all exterior pieces with stabilizer if using cotton fabrics and thin materials. So usually I would use foam, but I think this one, because it's more of a bag that, I mean, the foam will help it stand up, but I have some EB Fuse Heavy, which is similar to a Deckable Light, or I may even use some bouncy firm that I have from Serial Bagmakers to use up. So I'm not too sure which one I'm going to use as my main stabilizer just yet, but I think it'll be one of those two. I do not think I will be doing a foam in this one, mainly because it has the front and back pockets, and sometimes foam makes it hard to do those pockets. So yeah, I think I'm going to go away from the foam for this one. I have a feeling I'm going to be using the bouncy firm, but we will see. Again, I get that at Serial Bagmakers. On my cotton pieces, I will be backing them with EB Fuse Lite, which is equivalent to a SF101 or a medium woven interfacing. I get my EB Fuse Lite at Emmeline Bags. And of course, I will have Deckable Heavy in my base and in my flap as my heavy stabilizers. Now in the flap pieces, it does call for Deckable Light for the stabilizer, but because I am using a softer, more pliable vinyl, I am going to substitute in a Deckable Heavy for that. Also because my flip block is really girthy and I really need to have something thick there for that to grab onto. Okay, so let's go through the fabrics I will be using. So I guess first I should tell you, I do not have a picture of the bag here. Again, it is my first time making this pattern. I like to do my tutorials whenever possible, the first time I am cutting and the first time I am making the bag. That way, if I hit any roadblocks or any confusions, I can share with you where it got me all held up and how I got over it, and then we can learn together. I think that is the best way and the most beneficial way for all of us to be doing this and learning together. So at the time of seeing this video, depending on when you are seeing it, I should already have the Meet the Bags video, which is a short 2-minute video tour of the bag. You can take a peek for that. I will link that all down below in the description. Once I have them filmed and everything, I will add them into the description if you want to click there. You can also go on over to the designer website. She's got tons of tester videos or tester photos there, so there's plenty of inspiration to get ideas for what you want to do for your Ceyhla bag. I cannot share other people's videos due to or pictures due to copyright. That is why I'm not showing you the pattern picture, because it's not my place to be able to be doing that. The tutorial may already be up as well, depending when you're seeing this. Usually I will launch the Meet the Bags video on the Thursday, the cutting video on the Friday, and the tutorial on the Saturday. So again, it all depends when you're seeing this. I will have everything linked below to the tutorial and to the Meet the Bags video for you to check out as well. So yeah, you can hop in those videos if you want to see my bag, or you can hop on over to the designer's website to check that out. Okay, so for my exterior main, I am going to be using this glorious, this is called Ebony Luxe Leopard. This is a suede-like faux leather from Galaxy Customs. As you can see, it's very pliable and very soft. That's why I am contemplating which stabilizers I will be using. I think I could probably use foam, but I think I'm going to go outside of my usual box, and I think I'm actually going to be using the bouncy firm. We will see. For my accent on the exterior. I'm using this ebony vinyl, Luxxe Vinyl from Galaxy Customs as well. They are the same family, and just look how good they are going to go together. For my lining pieces, I'm going to be using, and I hope you can pick up the shimmer. I picked this up at Dresso.com when I was in Vancouver last. I will try to remember to keep a link down below to where I buy all of these things up here in Canada. Both places also ship to the United States if you need it to. This is called, where are we? Starlight Metallics by Maywood Studios. It is just glorious, and it's got such, it almost feels a little bit thicker than your average quilting cotton. I think it's because of the glitter in it. The glitter does not come off on your hands or anything, but that is what I am going to be using for my lining. There are raw edge pieces in this pattern, so I will be also using Giardini Edgepaint. Again, that'll all be in the tutorial. It's not going to be in the cutting video, just trying to give you information of what I've read so far in this. There's optional piping on the bottom. I'm not going to do the piping in the bottom just because if I was using a different vinyl, I probably would have, but this vinyl is super pricey. Well, not super pricey, but a little more expensive than what I would usually use to make my piping. So I think I'm going to skip it this time. It's also an oval bottom, which I'm not an expert on at all, so I'm not going to make it any more complicated than it needs to be by putting piping on the bottom of that as well. Future bags, once I've had a little practice, probably, but not this time. So I will be not doing the option of piping along the oval bottom because the oval bottom is going to be a challenge in itself. What else? I think that is everything. So we're going to start by cutting the accent vinyl. So I'm going to go clear all this up, get my rotary cutter, and then we'll get it cutting. All right, so we're going to start with the accent fabric. So I have this piece of scrap fabric before I cut into my actual roll that I want to use up first. I'm all about using scraps where I can. So another thing I won't be doing is giving out measurements because I don't know if I'm allowed to. So when I say to cut a piece, please do follow the measurements in the pattern. I will be giving strap measurements. Her measurements are a little bit different. She does them at 35.5 inches by 3 3/4 of an inch for 1 inch hardware. So I'm just going to go with my usual and cut it to 4 inches. I'm pretty sure she's probably just trying to make the straps a little bit thinner, but I'm going to go to 4 inches just because it's what I like to do. Unless, let me see something. Oh, that's 1 inch. I'm not sure. So I like to draw out all of my pieces on the back of the vinyl first, mainly because I do not like having waste. And I find if you draw it out first and you have to reposition some pieces to get better usage of your vinyl, this helps do that. So all right, so the first thing I think I'm going to draw out are my straps. Again, straps you can do to whatever length you like. Just looking for my ruler. So she has quite long straps at 35.5, I believe. I think I'm going to cut mine just a little bit shorter because I prefer a shorter strap. I'm going to do mine to 30 inches, I think. So I'm going to go out and draw that out. Normally I would draw with a ballpoint pen, but I am actually, because this is a darker fuzzy fabric on the back, I'm just going to use a quilting pencil. I actually got this from Galaxy Customs as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw out my 2 straps. So draw your straps out depending on what hardware you're using, whatever width that you like. So I'm going to go to 30, I think. Usually I would do my handles at 28 inches or so, but it does come further down, but this is my preferred length for the handles. So I'm also going to mark while I'm here a dotted line down the center, which will help when we go to make these straps, and do all the marking I possibly can when I'm cutting to save on time later. So that's 1 strap. And here's my 2nd strap. Again, you can follow her measurements in the pattern for this. I'm just doing my own strap preference. That is one of the bonuses of making your own bags, is you can make it your own in whatever way you want to. And draw my dotted line. Okay, and then once I'm finished drawing something out, I use my Air Erasing Soul Line pen and I just cross it out on my cutting chart. And then when I go to use it again, all those marks are gone because they erase on their own. So where are we? My straps are right there. So I've got two of them and I can cross them out. So now I'm just trying to think of what else I can fit on here. I actually think I can draw my two strap extensions possibly. Do you know what? I'm not going to draw this just yet. Not this one. Now I do my linings a little bit different. I like to do an overlay for my lining pocket. We are going to be doing tons of overlays here. We got overlays for the exteriors as well. So for my lining, I am going to do the zipper overlay as well, but I like to do it in vinyl. So I'm going to use, it's brand new, I haven't used this yet. I have this acrylic template that Melissa, It's So Yours, sent me. And I like it because it's kind of matching the shape that this bag is going with. So I'm going to use this one and draw it out. It'll fit in here, not quite there, it'll fit right here. Again, I can go ahead, actually, you know what? I'm going to cut this one right off the hop, just because I have the acrylic template. Usually I would do it at the end, but let's just get her done because we are doing it. So let's put this aside for now. And what I like to do for when I'm cutting this is I don't cut the center part out necessarily with this. I have another tool I like to use, but you can definitely do whatever you like. And I just draw out my two lines like so, hold this in place, and then I'm going to go around. And this will be a piece that I will be edge coating as well. Lots of edge coat work if you want to have it in this pattern for sure. Okay, so I'm going to flip it around and I can line up those lines so I know my template is where I need it to be. I don't use acrylic templates very often, but I definitely love these ones. Unfortunately, she does not ship to Canada, my fellow Canadians. She used to, but she does not anymore. So that gives me that. And now to cut out this, I get this tool from soclever.ca. Again, you can just go ahead and cut it out. This is really cool because it's got the little lines in it, so you can get this box so incredibly perfect, and you will see what I mean here momentarily. Again, these are just extra tools that you can get that I just think help things out a lot. Not necessarily needed, but are a definite asset. So because I can take my rotary cutter and I can go all the way through like that and like this, just make sure it doesn't shift, starting in those slits. And I will be using this when I cut my other accent or zipper overlays as well. And watch this. Ta-da! How perfect is that? So this is something that I add in. This part is not part of the pattern. I'm going to put this into my exterior bin so I can get rid of that. And let's continue. Kind of got a squirrel moment there and sidebarred. Okay. So while I'm here, I am also going, I like to do a vinyl strip for an accent on my lining pocket as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw that out. So I'm going to draw that out at 12 inches by 1.5 inches. Again, this is a Brandy thing. You don't have to do that, but, and I do have tutorials on how I do all my decorative lining pockets. My linings, I always do the same in all of my bags because my clients expect them to be the same. So regardless what the pattern is, I always do my linings the exact same way. Okay. So that is my slit pocket. accent slip pocket. Okay, so that's the extra stuff out of the way. Okay, more black. Let's see what pieces I can fit in. My flat piece. I might be able to get this one. Again, I'm trying to use up as much as I can here. Not quite. Oh, that's my bottom. I might be able to get my flap here and here. Okay, so I'm going to draw out my flap. So my flap piece, there are two ways you can do this flap in this pattern I've read. You can do raw edge and edge paint it, which is what I will be doing. Or, as you can see, there is an opening here that you could do to turn so you don't have raw edges. So we need two pieces of these, and I'm going to do them. I'm only going to cut one, and you will see in a moment why, and when we get to the tutorial. So I'm going to draw one. Okay, that's one. And then I'm just going to draw, I'm going to make it go this way, a box that's slightly bigger than this one. And the reason I'm doing that is I will cut out this one, and then I'm going to put it wrong sides together on top of this, and I am going to sew around them and then cut this shape using this one as a template once that is done. And you will see that in the tutorial when we get going. So then I have two perfectly the same pieces rather than having to figure out if they're the same or not or what have you. So flap and flap. So you need your two exterior flap pieces. And cross that off our list. Okay, so if you're doing the raw edge one, make sure you're using non-fraying fabric. If you're doing the turned one, you can have a cotton fabric on the lining side if you wanted to. Okay, next, what else can I use this piece for? I'm not going to get a bottom piece out of it. Okay, so we are going to need, can I get anything out of this piece? Again, I'm all about, I think I can get one here. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. We'll set this aside. I'll bring out the new roll. And now we want to cut out 4 side panels. But we want them in sets so they're mirrored to one another. So the way we do that, which way do I want to do it? If you're using directional fabric, make sure it's going the right way. Okay. So I'm going to draw one with my paper pattern facing up. And then to mirror it, you're going to do it with your paper pattern facing the opposite way. So this way, and I'm just going to line up this diagonal line like this and cut another one mirrored. And the reason I'm using the diagonal line is that is one less cut you have to do because that's 2 cuts at the same time. So as you can see, this is making them mirrored to one another, and we will do this again for the other set. Okay. So this time I'm going to actually, no, I'll just do it the same way. Like this. The pencil's already getting dull. This one. Flip it over. I'm going to line up that same diagonal line. And draw it out. Okay, so those are, I'm going to sharpen my pencil quickly. Said usually I use a ballpoint pen, but again, I want you to be able to see what I'm drawing, and you wouldn't have been able to see. Okay, cross off on our list. We've got our 4 side panels mirrored to one another. I also need to do my bottom, which I'm doing in black as well. I'm going to do that one right here. Now, you're going to probably wondering why I'm not doing anything along this top. When I draw things out, if I'm not going to be using the full roll, which I won't be here because I use some scraps here, I like to make sure I have a width of it that I could turn into a crossbody strap if I bought another roll, because usually that's always helpful. So this is my way of thinking. Everybody's different, but that is why I leave that to last. If I have to use it, I will. But otherwise, I'm thinking ahead to the next project when I may need a crossbody strap for that. We do not need a crossbody strap for this bag. So again, I'm drawing my, oops, that's the deckable piece. Make sure you're drawing the right bottom piece. I was drawing the deckable heavy piece. This is why I like to draw things out, because if I had gone in and cut that, I would have been really mad at myself. So I have my bottom piece, not my stabilizer piece. So drawing it out also helps with cutting mistakes, I find, because that would have been one and I would have been crying, because this is such a nice vinyl. I do not want to be wasting it. I'm going to just scribble through that line so I know not to cut that line. Okay, I'm going to label this bottom. And we can cross that off our list. Bottom, bottom, bottom. What else? I also went through and just wrote down which pieces were black and which ones I was using the leopard in, just so I would know. Look at that. They did have she does have a zipper facing for the inner part of the bag. I'm just doing mine a little bit different than hers. So so this next we have our, and I'm going to draw these, I think, draw one here. Let me keep that top going. I'm just going to keep going down the side here. So we're going to draw this one out. Now I don't want this one to move while I'm drawing it, because we want to get a pretty good shape with it. So I'm going to use some of my pattern weights here. Now I've also gone ahead and made little slits right in my pattern piece. I didn't cut out this rectangle, but made little slits there. And again, I'm going to use my zipper cutting tool there. So I'm going to just go ahead and draw my little lines in like this through those slits, so I know where I'm going to be lining that ruler up later. Go through, there we go. And I'll show you guys what I mean here momentarily. Okay, I'm going to trace this out. I just love the detail of this bag already, and I haven't even made it. Again, this is raw edge. I will be edge painting it. Riley's trying to call me.
Hello? Are you recording right now?
Could you guys hear that? He asked me if I was recording right now. And around. I have to answer him. Please hold. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, everybody. This is my son. Okay, so that is one. You can see those are those lines. So that is where I will line up that acrylic template to cut out that square. And then I have another one to draw here. Same thing. So again, you want to make sure for this piece that you are using a non-fraying fabric because it will be left raw edge. Oops, my pencil's going dull again. Okay, that's my two zipper facings. Black, black. That one's done. And that is everything we need to draw out for this one. So I definitely have plenty of space to get another crossbody strap for a future project out of it. And now we can go ahead and we can cut this out. So I'm a rotary cutter girl. I have pretty bad carpal tunnel syndrome and rotary cutter doesn't seem to bother it where scissors do. So I'm just going to go through and cut this out. I want to try to get this curve as nice as possible. Then you also want to cut that rectangle out where I have the lines. So I'm going to use my handy dandy tool that I got from So Clever. And I'm not one that uses acrylic templates a lot, but I definitely do when it comes to these zippers. I just love them. So once again, I'm going to line up. Okay, so this one doesn't quite fit, so I'm going to have to get creative. Line those up, and I'm going to have to move it a little bit. Make sure it doesn't shift. Because none of my zippers are quite big enough, now I have to move it over to finish the cut. So I just kind of scooch it over, make sure everything still lines up. And now I can finish along that line. And then that just pops out perfectly and nicely. Isn't that gorgeous? So I like to keep my pattern pieces as I go, so I know what they're all called, and I just attach them together with hair clips. So let's do the other one. These are the most finicky parts, I think, of the cutting of this, so we'll get them out of the way. Get that corner good. There we go. Oopsies. You want to make sure this curve is quite accurate in this, because this curve is where that flap is going to be sitting in. Okay, and then I'm going to cut this out. Again, make sure that my template does not move. And again, you can definitely go ahead and just cut out this rectangle. You do not need fancy tools like this. But I mean, seriously, it just pops out so easy. All right, so I can put this into the done bin. I always have a bin that is done, that doesn't need interfacing, and then I have another bin where it's pieces that need to be cut or need to be interfaced. Let's try to keep them all organized. Okay, here's my bottom piece. And if you're cutting with a rotocutter, definitely watch your fingers. Ask me how I know. Yes, I've cut the tip of my finger off before when I first started. I couldn't sew for like 4 weeks. It was terrible. I'm bad because I do have some gloves I can wear to avoid the cutting that my mom bought me, but I never wear them. I'm terrible. Okay, so that's my bottom piece. So this is an example. So my bottom piece, I still have to do my lining fabric. So I'm going to put this on here, and then in my empty bin here, I'm going to put this in because I have more cutting to do with that piece. Okay. So you definitely use more accent fabric in this pattern than the main fabric. And for these mirrored pieces, I'll show you how you can double check that you've done them properly. Is when you have them right side up, they should be opposite one another. See? If I put them together, they're opposite one another, so they are definitely mirrored. So that's 2 of them. Okay, and there's my other 2. Let's just double check, and we did it right. So again, these are 2 that, again, depending on the vinyl you are using, you may or may not have to interface it. I said I'm going to be interfacing it just because it's a softer vinyl. Okay. So then I have all of this left over where I can definitely make some straps, because I do have more of this vinyl that I'm planning on doing more projects with. So now I know I have enough for at least a crossbody strap, because the crossbody straps take so very much fabric. So okay, and then I'll cut these ones out. This is my flat piece. And I'll show you guys what I mean here. So again, why I have this big piece here is I'm going to be putting these wrong sides together, sewing around here, and then cutting it out using this piece. So that's why, and then you got perfect edge for edge painting, and the perfect edge, like they just will match perfectly. So we'll just clip those together for now. My strap pieces. And then my slip pocket accent piece. Again, this is an extra piece that I just do in the lining of all my bags. All right, so I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, and then we will pull out the leopard Luxe to cut next. Okay, so on to the main fabric. Again, if it's directional, make sure you have it going the right way. This one, really, I'm not gonna fussy cut anything with it. I think it's gonna be just fine. So all you need for this one is a front and a back main panel. Once again, if you look at the pattern piece, you can see it has the outline of where our zipper overlay is going to be. We don't need to draw that out, but we are going to have to cut this zipper rectangle. So I'm going to do it very similar to like I did with the other pieces. So we need to draw 2 of these, and I want this to be pretty accurate. So once again, I'm going to use some of my pattern weights. Just make sure it doesn't shift. Now I cut it back a little bit more so I could fold this over, and again I'm just going to draw that little line, and I'm going to use my handy dandy tool to cut that out after. So draw it out. I find cutting vinyl on the fold, it's better to draw it out because it gets so thick there that sometimes your fabric piece can end up being 1/4 of an inch or so bigger than it needs to be. So drawing it out is perfect. So where I get to where the fold is, I just kind of do a little line like that and like that. So when I go to flip my pattern piece over, I can line it up with those lines again. Like so. Once again, there's my little flip, so I'm going to draw that there and then finish drawing this out. Okay, so that's one of them, and we're going to repeat and do a second one. I'm losing my pattern weights. I think some fell on the floor. Okay, again, got everything lined up. I'm going to draw my little place for my zipper. Minimal pieces to cut in this. I'm so incredibly impressed. I believe the lining is more measured pieces. But that works good too, because you can use your ruler almost like an acrylic template. Okay, flip it over, line up those marks. Oopsies, a little bit more. There we go. Draw that little zipper part right there. Oops. All right. So now we can go ahead and cut these out. Then all we have to do with these is cut out that zipper rectangle. That can go in my scrap. Plenty for another project. And again, I'm going to have to, I don't have an opening quite big enough. Now this has little center lines, so I'm just making sure it's centered with those little lines that I drew. Oh, and I already cut it wrong. I have to recut this piece because look, I cut it in the wrong place. So I'll do that one off camera. Don't do what I just did because I just wasted that. Put it along the line. Here we go. Actually, do you know what? That is fine because that piece, that's going to be cut out anyways, so it's all good. It's still usable. Panicking before I need to. I'll show you what I mean here momentarily. Okay, because it's within that mark, so I'll be fine. Let's try this again. I don't need to redo it. Shift it. I'll try to remember to leave a link for this tool down in the description. So when I had this shipped, the shipping was quite high because it is a heavy thing. See, this is where that slit was. See, doesn't matter. But it was worth it. I use this tool all the time. Okay. So again, this raw edge I will also be edge painting. All the raw edges that are exposed I will be edge painting. So this one is done. This will just need interfacing whenever I decide what interfacing I'm going to be using. So I will have to remember to make sure the interfacing is outside of those holes as well. I may be using foam. I don't know what I'm going to use for interfacing yet. It'll be a surprise for us all. Okay, so that is it for the exterior. So that's not bad at all for cutting out exterior. Very minimal pieces. So let me get this cleaned up and then we will get the final lining pieces cut. Okay, so I was correct. A lot of this is measurement pieces. I will be using my ruler, but I'm not going to mention what the measurements are, but I'll show you the process of how I go cutting it, okay? So we're going to need 2 of the lining pieces at the lining size. So I'm going to be using my big long ruler here because it is quite a wide lining. So I want to be able to use this to the best I can. So what I'm going to do is put this up on the fold, and this is going to create the width of my lining piece. I'm only going to cut one at a time. So I'm just doing whatever my length is here. I'm actually going to put this upside down so you can't see the numbers so much. I apologize. Again, follow along in the pattern. So I've got my length here, and I got to kind of on my fold put what my width is going to be. So whatever the width is times 2, because we have it folded in half. An example would be if you needed a width of 8, say, you would put this along the 4-inch line, and then this way it would end up being 8 inches. That is not the measurement though. Follow the measurement in the pattern. Okay, so I'm going to cut my first lining piece, double check my measurements are right, and I'm wrong. Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Again, make sure you're not getting your selvage. So that's one. And I'm actually going to use this piece as my template to cut my next one. So I'm going to fold this up to create another fold. And again, I will be backing all of these with a medium woven interfacing. Oh, my printer's turning on. And I'm just going to use this as my template, have my folds on my folds, and cut it out. Linings are a little more forgiving if your measurements are slightly off. Okay, so those are my 2 lining pieces, and these will go into my stuff to do bin, do with stuff bin, because I need to put interfacing on that. Okay, next we're going to cut our bottom piece. So again, I'm going to put it on the fold. Of course, I got 2 yards of this fabric, so it's, or 2 meters of it, so it's really awkward to work with on my table. Okay, I'm going to take my pattern piece, I'm going to put it on the fold here. Bring it down a little bit more. Put it on the fold, and I like to hold it in place with a couple hair clips just on that fold, so it kind of flattens out that fold a little bit. So this is my lining bottom piece, and then I'm going to rotary cut it out. Okay, and then I can put these together, and of course I still have to do my deckable heavy piece for the bottom of this and my woven interfacing for this, so it'll go in the to be interfaced bin. Okay, let's look at our list. So I've done my front main panel, back main panel. I'm not doing piping. Okay. I did my 2 lining pieces and my bottom piece. I do not need to do my flap turnover piece because I did 2 vinyl pieces for my flap, so I can cross that off. Now we just need to worry about zipper pockets. So let me see. So I'm going to just go ahead and use my ruler. I'm not going to necessarily follow the pattern for their measurements here. I'm just going to cut them how I usually cut my zipper pockets, just because it's easiest with my ruler. So you can either follow the measurements in the pattern, or you can do like me. So I'm going to cut this. Again, these zipper pieces don't have to be perfect, as long as they're a little bit bigger and not smaller. So I'm actually going to cut this piece, and I want it to be 2 pieces. So I'm cutting mine 10.5 by 6 inches, just because that's the size of my ruler. But I'm going to need 2 pieces of this. Let me trim this off. So I need to make sure my width is going the right way. And one way to double check that is with your actual piece here. So you want it to be a little bit bigger on either side here. Whereas once these are cut in half, you'll see it'll be too short, so you can double check or follow the measurements in the pattern. And I want to cut this into 2, so I'm just going to just take off a little wee bit to cut on that fold to give me those 2 pieces. So that's for one of my these are for my front and my back zippers of my main panel. So now I'm going to use up this. I'm going to fold it this way, and I'm actually just going to use one of these as my template, lay it over top, and then cut it out. And it'll be 2 layers worth, cutting 2 at the same time, saving us time. I'm a little bit into that selvage, but that's okay, because that'll get sewn in or closed off. It's not a big deal. It'll get caught in the seam. What's more important is I'm not wasting any fabric. So this is for our front and back pocket mains. So I got 1, 2, see I got a little bit of selvage in there, but it'll get caught in the seam. 3 and 4. So those will need to be interfaced, so I'm putting them in the to be interfaced bin. And then we need our lining zipper pocket. Again, same thing. So I'm just going to cut it in the same manner. Just going to use my ruler. Again, it doesn't have to be super accurate. have it on the fold, cutting 2 at once, and I'm actually going to cut along my fold here as well. I think I made this one a little bit too long, but I'll take care of that when I actually do it. And these will need to be interfaced. And then all we have left is our slip pocket. So, where is it? So again, you can do your slip pocket to any measurement you like. Mine I'm going to actually do with this ruler. And use it as my template for cutting this out. Okay. So this one, I don't think she'd mind me giving the measurement out. It's 12 by 12.5 inches. So it will be folded up like this for our slip pocket, and we'll have multiple pockets. So that will need to be interfaced. And that's it. That's all. Let me clean this up and then we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a moment. All right, so that was a pretty fast cut. With me showing you what we were cutting out, it only took 45 minutes to cut all the exterior and all the lining. It'll probably be pretty fast to cut the interfacing, really fast if you aren't using any exterior interfacing. I'm still on the fence what I am going to use. I don't know if I'm going to use foam. I don't know. I'm such a foam girl. So I'm going to have to think on that overnight. I will not be sewing this up until tomorrow, so that gives me a little bit of time. Yeah. So I hope that that was helpful. I hope that you got something from these cutting videos. Again, they are new to the channel, and I'm trying to do them with every one of the bags that I'm doing tutorials on going forward. So if you do have any questions, do feel free to message me on Facebook if you like, through my bag makers group, which is down below in the description. You can shoot me an email if you like. You can comment on this down below. If you did like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you would like to support my channel further, you can always buy me a coffee. That's linked down below as well. And also make sure you check out my membership site in case there's something over there that interests you. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.